Why did it take us so many years to learn about one of the most delicious, pleasant, and economical deals in all of Italy? I'm talking about a Pranzo di Lavoro, which one can sometimes see advertised on signs outside restaurants. We've been coming to Italy for 25 years and have seen the signs, but it wasn't until the last 10 years or so that we learned to appreciate these special lunches. And it's something that you too can experience if you have the right inside information. My name is Paul Spadoni, and I divide my time between Italy and the United States. I have a home in Tuscany, in the city where my Italian grandparents were born, raised, and married. I didn't start coming to Italy for extended visits until I retired from teaching in 2011. But since then, my hobby has been to learn about Italian culture and just live la dolce vita, the Italian lifestyle. I started a blog in 2011 to share my experiences, and it recently reached 1 million page views. Now, just for the fun of it, I've started a YouTube channel as well. If you subscribe and like, you'll encourage me to keep making podcasts. Okay, back to the topic of the day. What exactly is a pranzo di lavoro, and why is it special? The most literal translation would be a worker's lunch, though some translate it as a business lunch. A pranzo di lavoro combines four vital factors: terrific food, completeness, speed of service, and great price. Permit me to elaborate on each of these aspects. First, a restaurant in Italy simply must serve terrific food to survive. Italians are the ultimate foodies, with men loving to cook and talk about food as much as women do. Ingredients here are always fresh and flavorful. Meat, fruit, and vegetables are often locally sourced and organic. So, unless one is dining in a heavily touristed city where the restaurants are not worried about repeat customers, the food is pretty much guaranteed to be good. A pranzo di lavoro is a complete lunch. It will normally include bread, water, and a small pitcher of vino, your choice, red or white. Then there will be a primo piatto of pasta, soup, or gnocchi, followed by a secondo, a plate with meat, which could be chicken, beef, pork, or turkey. Included with the meat plate will be the contorno, often fried potatoes or vegetables such as spinach, beans, or carrots. A quality olive oil and some grated Parmigiano Reggiano are normally available to complement the flavor. At the end of the meal, a small cup of espresso is usually offered as a digestivo. New Ground magazine says coffee aids digestion by stimulating more frequent muscular contraction within the gut. Whether that's true or not, most Italians swear by it. As for speed, most restaurants offering a pranzo di lavoro give their customers three choices each of primo, secondo, and contorno, which indicates that they've stocked up on those choices, have already prepared the pasta sauces, and probably have already cooked the vegetables. Thus, the lunch can be brought relatively quickly so the customers have time to recuperate before going back to work, or even go home for a short siesta. How much should one expect to pay for such a complete and satisfying meal? At a normal restaurant, a primo might cost from 10 to 12 euro, a secondo from 12 to 20, a contorno about 3, for a glass of wine, figure about 4 euro, and add the water, another 1 or 2 euro, and an espresso, probably 2. Then there is the coperto, the cover charge, which would probably be 2 to 3 euro. Add that all up, and the cheapest full lunch would cost you 35 euro, probably a little more. So, what is the price of a pranzo di lavoro at our two favorite restaurants? Drum roll, please. We get scrumptious full meals not for 34 euro, not for 24, not even for 18. We pay only 13 euro. We've also found another nearby restaurant that charges only 10 euro, but wine is not included, and we have to choose either a primo or secondo, not both. One might think the restaurant sacrificed quantity to save some money, but that's not the case. In fact, at one of our favorite restaurants, the pasta dish itself would be a full meal. If we ate the entire primo piatto at Tre Angeli, we'd be so stuffed that we couldn't continue. So Lucy and I have learned to bring little plastic boxes to take home about half of the primo, maybe a quarter of the secondo. which means we're essentially getting another half a meal for free. Knowing it's not customary to bring food home from a restaurant in Italy, we do it as discreetly as possible to avoid making la brutta figura. Our two go-to restaurants are I Tre Angeli in Pescia, right next to the Esselunga, and La Pieve in Castelvecchio, one of the castle cities in the Svizzera Pescitina Valley. Just last week, Lucy and I had a pranzo di lavoro at La Pieve, and I noticed that the restaurant no longer has a sign advertising the workers' lunch. It could be that the locals are already aware of this bargain meal. Maybe the owners don't want tourists to be asking about it because the restaurant will be better off financially if tourists order from the regular menu. But Lucy and I have been regular customers here for 10 years, and we've never been refused when we asked for the Pranzo di Lavoro menu. However, the proprietress, Laura, does ask that we call ahead. I think maybe so she has a better idea of how much food to prepare. I took some videos so you can see that La Pieve is set in the beautiful mountain borgo of Castelvecchio in the comune of Pescia. If the weather is warm, you can dine outside on the porch or even in the garden below. The inside is very warm and homey, full of knickknacks. Its walls are covered with old paintings and photos. The customers here aren't tourists, they're locals who know the secret of where to find delicious, homemade Tuscan food. I Tre Angeli in Pescia is always packed at lunch, and we've learned that it's best to make reservations there at well, though we've never been turned away without them. The servings here are huge, especially the pasta dishes. I Tre Angeli also no longer posts a Pranzo di Lavoro sign. The locals just know. It seems to be that 90% of the customers here have the workers' lunch. Apparently, word of mouth is quite an effective advertising method. But we've seen tourists coming to both of our favorite restaurants, and they were simply handed the regular menu. If a restaurant does put up a Pranzo di Lavoro sign, they'll probably provide it to anyone who asks. However, most tourists are not aware of this bargain meal, so they usually end up ordering off the menu and paying much more, while those in the know around them are dining at the special rate. Lucy and I actually don't dine out often, but we now know how to keep our eyes open for those special signs. We wouldn't mind having 3 or 4 favorite restaurants. So watch for the Pranzo di Lavoro signs and try it for yourself. It just might be one of the most memorable experiences you have on a trip to Italy. Buon appetito, ragazzi! Ci vediamo alla prossima!